This is James Lupton for Slothbox, sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club, joined with former two-weight world champion, 2002 Trainer of the Year, Buddy McGIRT. How are you?
I'm fine. How's everything?
All good, all good. Thanks for joining me today over here in the UK. We've got a few big fights coming up in quick succession. First of all, Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua. First of all, how's camp been?
It's been great. So far, thank God, it's been good. Have a different Dillian because he's fighting a bigger name and former opponent on a bigger stage. So, his attitude is a whole lot different. And the whole camp vibe is different, but in a good way.
You mentioned, obviously, he's a former opponent. Anthony Joshua is the first person to beat Dillian Whyte as a professional. Now, you have had that yourself with Frankie Warren, and you avenged that defeat, your first pro loss. So you know what Dillian will be going through and what his mindset should be like or will be like. Do you see that in Dillian at that moment, his mindset going into this fight?
Yeah, because I think not only the loss, I think that a lot of people are not giving him a shot. It's just a reality, not too many people giving him a chance. And he knows that, and, he's a man with pride. And, he's willing to go in there and lay it all on the line, nuts and guts.
Anthony Joshua is a poster boy of British boxing. Do you feel that's a worry potentially going into the fight? Do you have to take the fight out of the judges' hands? We've seen scorecards that are contested and controversial recently with Maxi Hughes over in America against George Kambosos Jr. Do you feel Dillian has to stop AJ to get the win here?
No, I think that at this point in their careers, I think that it'll be fair. I can't go into a fight worrying about that. I can't have Dillian worrying about that because that's when you have a tendency to look for the knockout, and that's when you mess around and you get knocked out. So the key is to go in there and win the fight by any means necessary.
It's a good point you make there. If he was going looking for the knockout, he could become open and leave himself open to Anthony Joshua's attack as well. Now, Tony Bellew recently said that it could be Dillian Whyte's downfall if he does that and has that plan of attack. Do you agree with that, in what you're saying there?
Yes, exactly. I agree 150%. That's why we're not looking for the knockout. We're looking for the win. We don't care how we get it. At the end of the day, the key is to get the W.
Something that's always been a potential issue or worry for Dillian Whyte is his gas tank. Can he go the 12 rounds at a good pace and at a high quality? Is that something you guys have been working on in the camp and in the gym? Is it looking at building up his engine?
Well, what we have been working on, I should say, is, of course, getting those 12 rounds in, but doing it the right way. I believe there's a way you got to do it, especially if you have a history of running out of gas, and that comes from looking for a knockout with every punch that you throw. Sometimes you got to build that. You got to chip away at the block, at the ice, a little bit at a time to get it. And but as you're chipping away, you get stronger and stronger. The key is not to come out all at once, like a hurricane, and then die down to a tropical storm. No, you want to start off as a tropical storm and finish like a hurricane.
Dillian's a character. He, at least within the media, comes across as somebody who could be difficult to work with. Have you noticed that, or is he different behind the cameras? What is it like working with Dillian as the person?
Totally different than what everybody else sees. When I got the call to work with him and word had got out, people had called me. They said A, they said B, they said C, they said D. Everybody was giving me their opinion on Dillian Whyte. And I'm like, listen, man, I've dealt with every type of fight in the world. So I'm not worried about Dillian Whyte. You know what I mean? And he came from the first day we met. He came across as a nice guy. And then as time went on, we built a friendship. And he's a great guy, man. I mean, I have nothing bad to say. He's a great guy, I still hear stuff from people saying, man, buddy, he's difficult, he's stubborn, he's this, he's that. And I believe that you have to take an approach with everyone different. You know what I mean? And he's the type of guy, if you tell him something and he asks you why, you got to be able to explain why or show him why. If you can't, then what do you expect from him? So if he asks me something, or if he tells me, he wants to try it a certain way, I got to have an answer. And I have an answer, thank God, So he, once that happened, we gelled, and that was it.
The first fight between Dillian and Anthony Joshua was 8 years ago, and it was very high-tempered. Tempers were flared in the build-up, during the fight, between rounds even. Now, Dillian is a completely different person, it seems. He's now managing fighters. He's, obviously 8 years later, he's matured a lot. Do you see that in him? Do you see the mature business head of Dillian?
He is a mature business head, but he still has that mean streak. And he's learned to balance it. You know what I mean? And so that's the Dillian I'm dealing with now. Before, I don't know. I've heard stories, but I've never seen that side of him. You know what I mean? I've seen him get amped up, but as time went along, he kind of calmed down and figured out a different way to handle the situation.
Anthony Joshua said he doesn't see Dillian as a rival, just another body. Could he be underestimating and overlooking him?
I don't think he's underestimating. I think that he's preparing himself in a way that if you look as a person as a rival, you have a tendency to overdo it, make mistakes. Just look at them as another opponent and move on. And I think that's what he's putting in his mind, that preparing himself for that. He's not overlooking him, no. But he said, I'm not going to get hyped up and think this guy's a rival and get caught up in the BS. You know what I mean? You learn and you grow as you get older. Well, not everybody, but in boxing, I've seen guys of this caliber grow as they go along. I think that Joshua knows that right now. He's got him in front of him, but he's standing in the way. But that's how he has to look at him, not as a rival.
Straight after that fight, you're flying out to Canada. You've got Callum Smith facing Arthur Beterbiev. Eddie Hearn came out and said Callum Smith is going to knock Beterbiev's spark out. Beterbiev has got a 100% knockout ratio. Is fighting fire with fire the best way forward in this fight?
Well, we have a couple of tricks up our sleeve, and I think that Callum is the best light heavyweight out there. And matter of fact, I know he's the best light heavyweight out there. Hands down. The key is just to go out there and show the world on the 19th.
We spoke just over a year ago, and we spoke about this potential fight happening, and you said this fight does not hear the final bell. Do you still stand by that?
Without a doubt.
Callum Johnson dropped Beterbiev. Anthony Yarde held his own and done very well against him. Do you see weaknesses in Beterbiev as time goes on?
I see certain things, but I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I've never really studied him. I've just watched little clips of him, and and watching the clips, you see certain things, and you see kind of the same thing. So, there's one fight I did watch. I'm lying. I watched the Anthony Yarde fight, but it was at a house full of people, so I really couldn't really watch it. We was talking and watching. So that's how it went. But I know what we have to do to win. I mean, I'm not going to sit and worry and study him and focus on one thing and say we got to do this, we got to do that. No, we're going to have more than one thing that we're working on to be ready for this fight.
Dmitry Bivol has picked Beterbiev to beat Callum Smith. Should you beat Beterbiev? Is Bivol a fight you'd like next? Obviously, there'll be a undisputed fight there.
Well, honestly, I don't like to put the cart before the horse. So right now, I'm just focusing on the 19th on Beterbiev. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And if I'm not, I'm sorry, champ. I don't mean to mispronounce your name, but that's what I'm worrying about right now. I'm not worrying about anything else or anybody else.
You've been a fighter. You feel invincible when you're undefeated. Is that something that could be a downfall for Beterbiev?
It can work. It can work both ways. It can work that you want to stay undefeated, so that's going to give you that extra incentive. Or you can say I'm undefeated. I can take a shortcut. I don't look as Beterbiev being a guy taking a shortcut. I look at him as a guy that's going to work harder. He has Mark Ramsey with him, and Mark's a great guy, great trainer. So I think that they're going to come in. I think we're going to see the best Beterbiev that there is.
I mentioned Dmitry Bivol's prediction. There was a lot of talk about him fighting another one of your fighters, Dan Azeez. Was that ever something that was going to happen?
To be honest, I don't know. Dan Azeez's manager had mentioned it in conversation, but mentioning it and telling me is two different things. He just threw it out there, but I just let it keep going because I know it's not going to happen. I know what this Bivol gained by fighting Dan Azeez, the young undefeated guy. I mean, that the box, like some of the boxer world knows him, but like the real boxer world don't know him yet. So what does he gain by fighting Dan Azeez? And he gets beat, then what? That puts a tarnish on his Canelo victory. He's not going to do that unless it's for a lot of money.
The fight that has been signed for is Dan Azeez versus Josh Buatsi. The rumours are October in Brighton or London. Can you shed any light on when and where it may be?
Well, to be honest with you, I spoke to Dan's manager yesterday. I says, "Can you tell me what's going on? Because this way I know how to make my prior plans." He goes, "Buddy, I don't know. I just know that the fight has been made, but I don't know." Dan Azeez told me the same thing. He goes, "I don't know." He goes, "Late September, early October, I don't know." And that's what I'm telling you. If I knew, I'd tell you. But I don't know. But I do know it's going to be a tough fight.
In terms of that, when you don't know when it's going to be, you're given a ballpark date. How difficult is that for you to plan your camp? How long camp may be, getting sparring partners in, when to start sparring, levels of sparring, etc.
Well, Dan doesn't need like 7-8 weeks of sparring. He doesn't need that. I mean, I don't really think any fighter needs 7-8 weeks of sparring to get ready for a fight. If you need that many weeks to get ready for a fight, sparring, not training now. Sparring, if you need 8 weeks of sparring, you're in the wrong business. You know what I mean? But right now, we're just going to work on little things and not overdo it, not underdo it. Just stay here until we get the date, and then we'll set up the sparring partners, and then we'll set up. But right now, there's a lot of things, a lot of technical things we have to work on because, Dan has sparred Buatsi, and I was there, so I know what we're facing.
I was going to come on to that. So obviously 4 sparring partners. Does that add anything to the fight and the fight preparation, knowing what your opponent can do to in some element?
I mean, in the preparation, yeah. And then again, no, I don't overemphasize on it. Because just like I saw the strong points, I saw the weak points when they were sparring. Even though I didn't think they would be fighting. You know what I mean? I thought he was going to wind up fighting Callum, if you want to know the truth. So I was looking at the strong and the weak points when he was boxing Dan. And then now they're saying that he's fighting Dan. So I still got them in my memory bank.
Dan Azeez is what I'd like to call a real throwback fighter. He's gone through the traditional route in terms of titles. He's picked them all up along the way. And as you mentioned, he's an undefeated fighter. What's it like to work with somebody like Dan Azeez?
What's it like what?
To work with someone like Dan.
It's nice, man. And it's funny how we met. He hit me on Instagram. And he says, "I would like to work with you." I said, "Well, I'm in the States. How do you want to do it?" And he goes, "I'll come out for a week." And he came out to the States for a week. And then he came back. And then he fought. I wasn't with him at the fight. Then his next fight, he called me like a week and a half before. And he goes, "I want you to come out and work the corner with my trainer." And I was on vacation. I was like, "Well, look, I get back from vacation this day." He goes, "Well, would you be willing to fly the day after that?" I'm like, "Sure." And I got there the day before the fight. And, 2 days before the fight. I'm like, I got it 2 days before the fight, and here I am.
I mentioned he's a throwback fighter. You've worked with the likes of Arturo Gatti, Laila Ali, Antonio Tarver. How much has boxing changed since you started training? And what is the biggest change that you found yourself?
Boxing has changed drastically, but I'm happy about one thing now in boxing is that the best now are stepping up to fight the best finally. Like it was in the good old days, and even before my time, when the best fought the best. And I'm so happy that I'm interested in boxing again. There was a time when I was a kid, I used to watch boxing every weekend when it was on TV, and then in the last 15, 20 years, it's like, I don't even know who's champ anymore. You know what I mean? Because there's so many champions. You got the regular champ, the interim champ, the super champ. I mean, there's just too many champions, man. I know it's about money, but damn, don't take all the respect from the game. But what's changed to me personally is these mid-men, the guys come in and they do all this fancy shit with mitts. And guys think, "Yo, he's a good trainer." I'm like, "Why?" "Well, look how good he does the mitts." I'm like, "Okay, if you go on Instagram, there's 2 little brothers. I would say they're about 11, 12, maybe younger. They're masters at the mitts." So
The Grady twins.
Is that who it is? The two little boys?
Yeah.
So if they can do it at that age, now they might grow up to be great trainers. But if you get a guy today and he's fancy, it's, he's a good trainer. What makes him a good trainer? What he can do to Mitch good. That don't make you a good trainer. I mean, can he teach? If I get, anybody can teach somebody to do that fancy stuff, but can you teach a guy what to do? Can you teach him to become a better fighter? No, a lot of these guys can't.
You mentioned there what makes a good trainer. Now, I know you don't like to blow your own trumpet too much, but what makes you a good trainer?
I've studied this game, not just the business, the training aspect of it, since I was 12 years old. And I'm still studying to this day. I'm 59. It's funny, the day I started boxing was on my birthday, January 17, 1976. Saturday afternoon. The very next day when I woke up, I wanted to be a trainer. So as I went along, I used to read books, boxing books, from front to back, to pick up anything. To pick up anything I could to learn about the fighters, how they train, what they did. We had a little VHS. I used to get the thing and throw the tape in the VHS and watch this. Ali had a thing out called Ali Skills, Brains, and Guts, or something like that. Or Brain, Skills, and Guts. I used to watch that. And every chance I got, I would sit and watch the fights on TV and just pick up little things, then go to the gym and try them. Or go in my backyard. I took a pillowcase and stuffed it with stuff and hung on a tree in the backyard. I used to try the different moves. I taught myself. And over the years, I had the privilege of spending time with great world champions, like Willie Pep, Joey Giardello, Jersey Joe Walcott. I used to hang around Ray Arcel, Georgie Benton, Eddie Futch. Can't get no better than that. So I used to pick these guys' brains over and over and over and over. And I just took it and put it all together. And a lot of stuff they taught me always stayed in the back of my head. And a lot of it makes sense. And it's simple. It's nothing major. It's simple shit. That when I look at guys today, they don't teach their guys that. Not knocking them. But I'm saying to myself, that really don't make any sense. But if that works for you, I don't say anything out loud. But if that works for you, cool. But I've learned one thing. I've been around all these guys at the end of the day. And that is, it's all basics, man. It's nothing fancy. It's all basic shit. But some people try to make it fancy so they can stand out. But at the end of the day, it's all basic and it's all common sense. When you think about it, I tell a guy, if you throw a jab and you can't hit the guy with the jab, why throw the right hand? And like, what are you talking about, coach? I'm like, this hand is closest to the guy. So if this miss, damn well this is going to miss. So if you throw this and this miss, keep this home. You know what I mean? So, it's common sense. It's little things like that people don't really look at. You know what I mean? Why isn't he throwing the right hand? Well, because the jab ain't touching the guy.
Fantastic, buddy. Thank you very much for your time and all the best of luck for your fights coming up.
Thank you.